Writing. At 8:17 on a rainy Tuesday night, Emily Carter put her last $10 bill into the hand of a stranger who had been counting coins beneath a restaurant table. Exactly 1 hour later, that same stranger would walk back through the front door, and by the restaurant. Before we get there, tell me where you're watching from, and leave your city in the comments. And if you love stories about unexpected kindness, secrets, second chances, and people getting exactly what they deserve, subscribe and stay with us. Emily was 29 and exhausted. She had worked the dinner shift at Bellini's for nearly 11 hours, smiled at rude customers, carried plates until her wrists ached, and listened to the owner complain that business was getting worse. When her shift finally ended, she checked her wallet. One $10 bill. That was it. Her rent was due in 3 days. Her car needed a new tire. And her younger brother, Noah, had texted that morning asking if she could help with his college books. Emily stared at the bill for a moment before slipping it back into her wallet. She was about to leave when she noticed the man in the corner. He looked about 65. Gray hair. Cheap brown coat. Wet shoes. He had ordered nothing. He was simply sitting there with a glass of water, counting a handful of coins over and over. The manager, Rick, marched toward him. "Sir, I'm sorry, but we're closing." The man quietly nodded. "I understand." He stood, gathered his coins, and walked toward the door. Emily watched him hesitate beside the pastry display. There was a slice of apple pie behind the glass. His eyes lingered on it for only a second. Then he looked away. Emily knew that look. She had worn it herself. "Wait," she called. The man turned. Emily walked to the counter, pulled out her $10 bill, and placed it beside the register. "Take the pie." He shook his head. "No, sweetheart. I can't. It's already paid for." "But. Please." He looked at her carefully. "You're sure?" Emily smiled, although her stomach tightened at the thought of giving away her last money. "I'm sure." He accepted the pie with both hands. "Thank you." Emily shrugged. Everybody deserves dessert once in a while. The man smiled. Then he asked quietly, "What's your name?" "Emily." "Emily Carter?" Her smile disappeared. She hadn't told him her last name. Before she could ask how he knew it, Rick shouted from across the room. "Emily! Lock the back door before you leave." She turned for only a second. When she looked back, the man was gone. Emily thought it was strange, but she was too tired to care. Outside, rain hammered the pavement. She walked to her car, opened the door, and froze. There was an envelope beneath her windshield wiper. Her name was written across it. Emily opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a photograph. It showed Bellini's restaurant 15 years earlier. Standing outside the building were two people, a young woman and a little boy. On the back, someone had written, "Your father never stopped loving this place." Emily's heart began pounding. Her father had died when she was 14. And his name was Daniel Carter. The restaurant had once belonged to him. Emily had never known the details. Her mother always said Daniel had lost the business after a bad investment and walked away from it. But now Emily stared at the photograph. She recognized the woman. Her mother. And the little boy was Emily's older brother, Daniel Jr., who had died as an infant. There was something else inside the envelope. A folded newspaper clipping. The headline read, "Local restaurant owner saves stranger's life during fire." Emily read the article twice. Her father had rescued an elderly man from a burning building 15 years earlier. The man's name was Victor Hale. Emily had heard that name. Everyone had. Victor Hale was one of the richest businessmen in the country. A billionaire. Her hands went cold. She looked back toward Bellini's. The lights were still on. And then a black sedan pulled up. The man from the restaurant stepped out. He wasn't wearing the brown coat anymore. He wore a dark suit. 2 assistants followed him. Rick rushed outside. "Mr. Hale?" Emily couldn't breathe. Victor Hale entered the restaurant. He looked directly at her. "You gave me your last $10. Emily swallowed. "You knew who I was." "I did." "Why?" Victor reached into his coat and pulled out an old photograph. It was the same photograph Emily had just seen. "Your father saved my life," he said. "I spent 15 years trying to find his family." Emily stared at him. "Then why did you come here like that?" Victor smiled sadly. "Because I wanted to know whether kindness still existed when nobody was watching." Rick stepped forward nervously. "Mr. Hale, if there's something you want, we can discuss it in my office." Victor didn't look at him. "I already know what I want." He turned toward Emily. "I want to buy this restaurant." Emily's mouth fell open. Rick immediately protested. "You can't just." Victor raised a hand. "I can. I've already made the offer." Emily looked around. "You're buying Bellini's?" "No," Victor said. "I'm buying the building, the business, and the debt." Rick went pale. "What debt?" Victor's expression hardened. "The debt you hid from your employees." Emily looked at Rick. He had been telling everyone for months that the restaurant was failing because of the economy. Victor placed a folder on the table. 3 months of unpaid wages. Supplier money diverted into a personal account. Fake repair invoices. And a loan taken against this building without the owner's knowledge. Rick's face collapsed. Emily realized why the restaurant had been struggling. It hadn't been the customers. It had been him. Victor turned to Emily. "Your father built this place for people like you. People who worked hard and still found a way to be kind." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "What are you going to do with it?" Victor looked around the dining room. "Keep it open." He paused. "And put you in charge." Emily laughed through her tears. "Me? You're the only person in this room I trust." A year later, Bellini's was thriving again. Emily became the manager, then eventually a partner. The old staff returned. Noah finished college. The restaurant's walls were filled with photographs of Daniel Carter, the man whose kindness had reached across 15 years and somehow found his daughter. Victor visited every Tuesday. He always ordered apple pie. One evening, Emily placed it in front of him. "On the house." Victor smiled. "No. Never." He put a $10 bill on the table. Emily laughed. "You're a billionaire." Victor looked at the bill. "So?" Emily understood. Money had never been the point. He had come looking for proof that the world still had people who would give away their last $10. And he had found one. Years later, Emily kept that original $10 bill in a small frame behind the counter. Beneath it was a handwritten note. "Sometimes the smallest thing you give away becomes the biggest thing you ever receive." And every night, before locking the restaurant, Emily looked at that bill and remembered the lesson her father had unknowingly passed down to her. Kindness doesn't become valuable because someone rich rewards it. It becomes valuable because you gave it when you had almost nothing left.